It did go on.
Oh, yes, it did.
Monster movies from the 1980s are something that I'm sure everyone loves, whether or not they even know it. I don't know what it was exactly about the kind of environment Hollywood was in, but there were so many of these films coming out in a short period of time that it's kind of hard not to acknowledge how many memorable movies got made. From John Carpenter's The Thing, all the way through to Stan Winston's Pumpkinhead and everything in between, the decade was full of iconic creature design. Jeff Goldblum's The Fly, Joe Dante's work on The Howling, and Steven Spielberg's production of Gremlins. There's like at least one of these movies that even the least accommodated person will know about. With that being said, there are also a lot of forgotten films from this time period that don't get a lot of attention. I've talked about movies like Leviathan before in the past, and even talked about forgotten creatures like Daggett from Conan the Destroyer, but for today's video, I wanted to talk about something that I really think takes the cake as far as extremely obscure monster movies go. Creature, or The Titan Find as it's also known, is a 1985 science fiction horror film directed by William Malone. The film's plot centers around a group of people making their way to one of Saturn's moons called Titan, and later discovering a terrible monster to be on the loose that may or may not be picking them off one by one in what I'm sure you can already tell is a very formulaic fashion. Now, for those of you guys that have been watching my stuff for a little while now, remember when I said that it was really obvious that Leviathan from 1989 was a ripoff of Alien? Well, I take a lot of that back after seeing this, because honestly, I think this may be one of the most obvious retreads of a more popular horror movie that I've ever seen in my life. Which I want to add is actually really interesting because, believe it or not, this is also a ripoff of Alien, and some of the crew that helped work on the special effects for this movie later went on to work on James Cameron's Aliens the following year. Talk about the planets lining up perfectly, right? And it should go without saying that the monster in question also looks a lot like Ridley Scott's original Xenomorph, with an elongated neck, obviously emulating the skull of H.R. Giger's alien monster from the 1979 film. In a lot of ways, this really is something of a forgotten retread that I think is kind of impressive in that respect alone. Anyways, for those of you who may still be in interest of this movie, The Titan Find, or Creature, whatever you want to call it, actually does have one very interesting original idea when it comes to its monster that I think played out well during the movie's runtime. And that happens to be the incorporation of a brain-sucking mind control parasite that the alien uses in order to subdue its prey and send them out after other people who may have otherwise survived.
John, are you sure you're all right?
I'm fine. I think I pinched a nerve in my neck.
While I don't think a lot of it was necessarily executed well, mainly due to the very ridiculous unfolding of events and kind of dopey logic and structure, the movie entertains the idea of a mind control alien very well, and the lore for where it came from is even more interesting. Apparently, it's been laying dormant inside of a special canister for 2,000 years, patiently waiting for its inevitable release. It was put there by some sort of other being's focused collection of exotic creatures from all around the galaxy. A character in the film even calling it someone's personal butterfly collection. Only this butterfly is not so friendly. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and recommend this movie off of anything more than the fact that it's a pretty rare alien rehash that I don't see people talking about too much, and in fact I think Leviathan, while nowhere near as popular as movies it was compared to like The Abyss, is 1,000 times better than what you can expect to see in this 1985 film. But when it comes to movies that I do think are really interesting, The Titan Find is something of a fun experience, because you've got to look back at when people were still trying to ape the plot of Ridley Scott's original Alien just before that sequel came out in 1986, which was a completely different beast of a film that incorporated way more action and one-liners than I think anybody expected out of a follow-up to the 1979 movie. Creature, I hate calling it that, by the way, because I've already talked about Peter Benchley's Creature from the 90s, but yeah, this film has two names. This movie is nothing remarkable, but it does exist, and like I said, it is interesting to see a concept like some sort of alien monster collection have a breakout, which results in a mind control monster attacking some people on Saturn's moon Titan. The special effects are for the most part pretty good for the 1980s. The set design is kind of fun for what you can expect, and all in all, while this isn't good, the fact that the guys that worked on the monster got a gig for Aliens that came out just 1 year later is really cool in my own opinion. Good for them, and it's kind of fun to see any sort of monster movie from the 80s in my opinion. It's a shame the film wasn't at least a little more original, but hey, what are all of your thoughts on this movie? Have any of you seen the film, and if so, what do you think about it? This was new to me. I knew it existed pretty recently, but I'd never watched it before, and now that I have, I kind of want to watch the original Alien, or Aliens, because, you know, quality. But hey, whatever your own opinions happen to be, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below.